Welcome, brother. How are you? Happy Thursday.
Hey, dear sister, how are you?
Oh, it's a wonderful Thursday. I always live for these times. It's been a busy week for me, and I'm sure it has been for you. Lots of
Yes, yes,
exciting
yes.
things have happened in our family. Um, our family is growing. We've added some new family members um, because my son got married,
Oh,
and
congratulations to the young man.
yes, he's
I'm
excited.
real. I'm overjoyed to hear all about that. That's
I know. And the little girl is on her way home from school, so my nest ain't so empty no more.
so. How is she feeling about that? She happy to be on her way back home?
I don't think she is. It's like this is the end of her junior year, and she has really spent a lot of time like changing and shifting and developing herself and finding her new direction. So we had a
Right,
little
right, right.
conversation recently about like, hey, what's your plans? This is the year we really have to start making plans and executing our plans. And what I found out from her was that, she hadn't been dreaming as big as she could have been. And so she's still a little confused. She has some
Hmm.
goals. She thinks she wants to work in medicine, but one thing that her kind of common tag to me is like, I don't want to work as hard as you.
Oh, that's what she said.
That's what
You
she
know,
said.
I'm not surprised at that because I've heard that before from mine.
That
They
they
don't
don't
want
want
to
to
work
work.
as hard as me. I mean, honestly, what they don't really know is that if you love what you're doing, it's not like work.
Right.
Doing it
Right.
is its own reward. I love what I do.
Would you
So I
do this
enjoy
no
it.
matter what?
Oh yeah. If I had quadrillion dollars, this is what I would be doing.
This is what
Maybe
you
at a larger scale. I'd just be able to funnel it into a larger scale. But
mhm,
this is
mhm.
exactly what I would be doing.
Well,
And
that's
I would love for them one day to have that same type of, something, that excites them,
right.
that makes them be like, I love going to work. I love being there. I want them to have that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
this thing right here, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
the
don't I
lack
don't
of
like hearing it that they view what we are doing as arduous and they wouldn't want to do it. You know what I mean?
right, right. I think though, for those who don't know us, we should probably introduce ourselves and jump right into our storytelling. I'm
Hmm.
Sarita, and I am the the younger part of this sibling duo for now because literally we have one more day before we are no
Hi,
longer.
I'm so sorry.
Hey,
Hey! Woo!
hey,
Look, we got
hey,
the dynamic sibling duo.
yeah, we do.
We were just introducing ourselves to folks who don't know us. And I am the younger part of the sibling duo, even though we're Irish twins. And today is our last day of our twinship because
Yes.
tomorrow is my brother's born day. So
Ah, well,
Look,
happy early birthday.
hey, thank you. This is an exceptional birthday gift right here to be graced with
Oh,
your presence.
wonderful. Wait, so you guys are 11 months apart?
we
Yes.
are 11 months
I went
apart.
to high school with two sisters who were 11 months apart.
Get out of
You
here.
do know what that means, right?
Well, it depends. Do y'all both have the same parents?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, see, because I was gonna say like, I didn't know if y'all were like Irish twins or hood twins, because slight difference. And look, it's no judgment. Like, it seems like everybody stayed close and together, but it seems like your parents stayed very close.
They say very
Very, very, very often, and maybe they could have done a little Brady Bunch separate bedroom situation for a little bit. Well, at least looking back on your lives, you're like, our parents actually really did like each other.
they
And you
like
know what? That's
they
it. That's
really
the
did.
guy's honest truth. Because I was thinking that no matter what you got to say about them at that time,
Right.
they was really into each other, and
Yeah,
it
they
it
were
showed.
very into. Because just thinking, you already had a baby that young, and I don't even have kids, but from people I know, like, it's so much going on, and like, you still that into this other person, like, that means you were really into them.
They are
But
really into them. They were. But lucky for me that I had such a
you
great brother and he allowed me
Aw.
to travel along and be his very annoying part of his twinship. So when he was younger, he'll be I'm going to embarrass him for a minute. When he was younger, he
know.
didn't talk much, right? So
Uh-huh.
but I talked a lot. So he would just
I see that hasn't changed, though, right?
That's good for a podcast. Nobody wants to listen to
around and chat. And then sometimes I would be making up stuff. And so I created a fake, I created characters for us. We were the dynamic Ralph and Susie.
That's
And
right.
Ralph and Susie could do anything. So we could be pet tennis stars, we could be librarians, and
Oh,
he
wow.
entertained me.
See, that is a good big brother. I will say I have an older brother who's actually we're a little bit further apart in age than you guys, but not that much because we're only 18 months apart.
So
But yeah.
I got the better part of that because see, your brother could still talk. We were like learning to do things together. My
same
brother
time,
at
right.
the same time. So Corey, we are so excited that you are here. You have brightened up our life for contributing to this, and it's so fitting because what you missed right before you logged in is my daughter, who is a junior in college, is coming home, and she from college for the summer, and she has this very interesting relationship with finances and culture. And one of the things that she said to me was, well, I definitely want to make money, but I don't know what I want to do, and I don't want to work as hard as you.
That's a new thing
Go
that
figure.
this generation has. I forgot. Is it called soft skilling? I don't know. There's a term for it now. They say that like millennials and like people on the other side of millennials as well, like we're all about like this hustle mentality. It's all about like hustle culture. And this new generation, like, we ain't trying to be tired, give the best part of our lives to our jobs. Like, that's not like fine. Y'all want to hustle hard all the way to the grave. Like, we're not interested in that.
They're not. And
Exactly.
what she shared with me was like, influencers are like doing things, and I might want to find my voice, and I'm going to work in medicine, but it's going to be different. So what we need her to do is one, learn from your journey today. Understand the importance of finances, because what sis don't know is, and brother, you and I were talking about this, I'm breaking up with her when
Oh yeah.
Financially, you break it up with her?
Financially, I'm breaking up with her when she graduates. Not going to ever break up with her. She's a wonderful, wonderful young woman. But the money definitely stops from, like, my responsibility will stop once she has graduated from college. That's where we have decided to take her. So she's definitely going to have to build some of these skills, and not soft skills. I think financial literacy skills are hard skills. They're not soft skills, and she needs to understand what that means. So we are so excited that you are here and can share some of those lessons with her and everybody else who's listening. But before that, my brother, I think you wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to have the privilege and pleasure and a great honor to introduce you, Corey, because I thought you did such a great introduction the last time we got together. So, and you have a very impressive background. So it's so many things, I don't even know where to start. But first of all, let's just start with the fact that you are a CEO and co-founder, right, of Culture Banks.
Yes.
And Culture Banks, I'll let you describe that for yourself. But you're a contributor to Forbes, and you also have been in the past the first Black woman that was the anchor of a daily show live from the New York Stock Exchange floor, which
Yes.
I thought is incredible. And then, I've been a big fan of Squawk on the Street and all of that stuff. So I didn't know you were a producer and a background on that, and also a producer for Bloomberg. So kudos to you, and I really appreciate you for joining us, because also, you're a precedent breaker here because you're the first female guest.
Are we diversifying the guest line over here? Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so I gotta give you the trophy for that.
Y chromosomes on the show before.
Yeah, so we get the balance us out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a lot of Y chromosome that have been flying around this situation. We need to tone it down.
So, I was so curious about what got you interested into that career path you have.
Guys, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I just love this sibling chemistry. I should have told my brother about this. He's at work right now. Because I literally called him, which is partially why I was running late, because I ended up getting a flat tire randomly.
Oh no.
And had to like rush over to the tire shop. But I called my brother and was like, where do I go? This is like my first flat tire. As part of like quick background, I just moved to Houston, which is where I grew up, but I've been gone for 20 years. So out of those 20 years though, I haven't had a car for the last 15 until like 9 months ago. And so it's just like getting back in the habit. Like, first of all, owning a car, like there's so many things you have to constantly remember to do. And I'm just like, my God, somebody put me back on a subway. I called myself a professional passenger for years, and I really love that life. Of just having people pick you up, drop you off, door-to-door service all the time. But now I'm back motoring myself. So saying all to say, I just love the sibling connection. But in terms of how I got into this, like it's such a non-traditional path. And I actually wish I had more of a simplified answer, but I'll just tell you guys high level. I went to Hampton University. Shout out to all the HBCU grads who are listening in or tuning in right now. And I kind of grew up always knowing that, much like you were saying about your daughter, like I want to make money. I was always good at numbers, but wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and thought that I was going to be a financial advisor. And the last summer I was in undergrad, I actually worked at a financial advisory firm in the summer. And it was one of my mom's friends' company. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with like Houston, like places, but there's this fast food place in Houston called Frenchie's Chicken that's like very, very popular. But my friend's family actually owns this place. On her dad's family like owns it, and her mom is a financial wealth advisor. And so I worked for her mom, and I was like, gosh, I really don't know if I want to be a wealth advisor. But of course, I only had one more semester left at Hampton because I graduated a semester early, and I was like, what am I going to do? So I got a job as a substitute teacher in the local school district in Hampton, Virginia, which is crazy. My gosh, shout out to
Wow,
all the
big
teachers. Like,
difference.
it also let me know that I should be a teacher. But when I graduated in that mean in between time, I know I really wanted to go abroad. So I actually just only applied for jobs in other countries, which is crazy. And so I ended up getting my first investment banking job at a Swiss bank called UBS in London. And I will say the rest of my investment banking career is it's kind of like history after that. Cause like once you got in with one big bank, it was easy to kind of transition. I stayed in London for a little less than 2 years. This is literally right out of Hampton. I'd never even lived out of the country. I had been to London before as a teenager, but I'd never lived out of the country and just decided to go. And then I moved back to the States and started working at Goldman Sachs. And while I was at Goldman, I was doing what we consider in the investment IB world, the investment banking world, the traditional kind of like track, which is you work for a few years and then you go back to B school. And especially for like Goldman, like everyone at Goldman, we either at the time, like you went to HBS or you went to Wharton, like that was it. And then you come back and you join private equity. Like you don't necessarily even come back to the firm. Like that's literally the trajectory of like the IB like path. And so I was on that path as well because I was like, I'm making good money. I didn't love my job, but I didn't hate it either. Like, you know, it's like it's in between. Like, I'm making good money. I'm good at it. It's not stressing me out. Like, whatever. The hours are long, but I'm not married. I don't have kids. What do I care? And
Yeah, I hear that.
you know, I'm living my best life. Like, I
Mhm.
don't have a reason to change. And really, I just had one day at work an aha, like Oprah kind of light bulb epiphany moment, where it's clearly, as I'm speaking to you all right now, I feel like I heard what I consider to be the voice of God because I cannot attribute it to anything else. And I've never heard it in this way since then, or even before that, that it was just a voice that said, that's what you need to be doing. And I kind of looked around like, wait, what? And at the time, where my desk was on the trading floor, it was under just one of the TV screens. Like there are lots of different TV screens that have the gamut of like TV networks from Fox Biz, Bloomberg, CNBC, all on mute, but you know, they just have it up on the screens. And so I looked up at the screen and I was like, that? Like, what am I have no aspiration to do anything in media. I don't even know anything about it. Like, what would I do with that? Like, that's not my thing. I'm like, I'm a smart young Black woman. Like, I'm an investment banker. What I want to go be in media for? I don't even care. And it was kind of in that moment, I kind of just like switched paths and decided that instead of, because at that time too, I literally, I got in to HBS. They were like hardcore recruiting me to come to Harvard Business School. And then I just decided that I was going to apply to the best journalism school in the country for their master's program. And if I got into that, that was a sign from God. Well, I did apply. Yes, which was Syracuse's Newhouse School of Communications. And I got in. And of course, as I like to say sometimes, depending on how spiritual you are, you're kind of like, oh, wait, universe, like you're kind of giving me a little too much of what I want. Like I wasn't ready. Like I was
I
kidding.
hear that.
So I deferred my acceptance to the university. I didn't go.
Wow.
And I deferred it for a year. And basically, kind of like 9 months after the deferment, they send me an email and they're like, hey, like basically, if you don't commit to starting with the next class, like we're going to give your spot away and you're going to have to reapply and, you know, do all the things. And to which I'm like, oh, I'm not doing all of that work again. And so then at that point, I told my bosses at Goldman, I was like, look, I'm leaving. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try to figure out how to be a reporter and a journalist. And I want to cover the stock market. And there's nobody that really looks like me doing this. So I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm just going to figure it out. And actually, 2 months before I left Goldman, I'd reached out to the Syracuse alumni group, their Black Alumni Association, and found a guy who was an editor at Bloomberg. He worked at Bloomberg. And I reached out to him and just from my personal like Hotmail account, don't judge. Yes, I do.
I still got
Do
a
not
Hotmail account
judge,
too.
okay. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, I was like, this is my name. I got into Newhouse. Look, when I graduate, I want to get a job in Bloomberg TV. Like I haven't even told Goldman that I'm leaving right now, but like, will you help me get a job? And he said, come meet me at my office at Bloomberg. So I totally lied to my job. I was like, I got to go to the like doctor or the dentist, like something that they wouldn't, you know, overly question you about. Them like
Yeah,
HIPAA
yeah.
regulations. Like, don't be questioning me about why I'm gone so long to the doctor. But I literally like went uptown Manhattan, went to the Bloomberg office, was like having a meeting with this guy. And he was like, yeah, I really like you. He was like, stay in contact with me while you're in grad school, and I'm going to help you get a job in Bloomberg TV. And anybody who has ever worked in media or TV, it is just like super hard to get in. There are very few jobs. People keep them forever. I mean, look at Lester Holt on 90 Minutes, who
Yes.
I love. Like, but I'm just saying, like, when you're in those roles, like, the only way you really get a job is if someone gets fired or someone quits. Like,
Right.
that's it. And so this guy who was kind of, I just would email him like every 2 or 3 months while I was in grad school to let him know like how things were going. And then it was time to be done. And I was like, look, like I did everything you said, like I applied, like I never heard back from anyone. And he physically walked my resume over to the head of TV at Bloomberg and basically forced them to like call me back. And that's how I got an internship. And that's how I really transitioned into TV.
Oh
That's
my
such an
God.
incredible story for many
Yes.
different
But it's a
reasons.
very
You know,
long roundabout way of getting there, but it's like a crazy story. Like it's so not like, oh, I just always wanted to do this. It was in my like it wasn't.
but you know, you still had some of those, you know, aspects in there of self-driven, self-initiated motivation and stuff like that. I really like the pivot point where you said you heard the voice of God calling, like the divine providence. It was so clear. You said, you know what, I don't even really know what I'm doing, but hey, if this is what it is, I'm gonna accept it. So,
Right.
but everything that you did from there on out, though, I think it was really masterful, to be honest. You know,
Do
it
you?
was,
See, I
yeah,
feel like it's
because I
masterful
think,
because it worked out.
well, you know why I say so? Because he took a major risk, right? So, like moving to a whole nother country, you know, most people, I know a bunch of dudes who had never left Baltimore, you know,
Baltimore isn't that big from
and
what I
so,
recall. I've been a few
yeah,
times. It's not that big.
yeah,
No, but brother,
but
let me give you this perspective. I'm
yeah.
hearing a lot about Corey. So Corey, by training, I'm a psychologist. You might not know this. I know you know. I know you know the superstar IT. You know, I call him IT royalty.
Look,
But
I knew you had doctor in front of your name. I was like, oh,
Monday through Fridays, I'm somebody's
okay.
doctor, but every other day, I'm just. So you know, there's a lot about your personality that, you know, is missing, I think, in this new generation. But I want to know some things about you, because that takes a lot of boldness. And
Yes, it does.
would you say before all of these bold moves you have, would you have described yourself as this bold person? Because a lot of people don't see themselves with that level of courage. So I'm wondering how you saw yourself and how you use that to help you in this situation.
I love the way you frame that because I didn't see myself as that way. And a lot of times now I don't see myself. I have an executive coach in that way. And he's like, you know, Corey, part of your like strength here, part of your like power is that you're never high on yourself. He's like, you don't see yourself the way other people see you. he was like, and that actually really works to your advantage. Even I remember when I was at Goldman, one of my managers at the time said to me, this lady, she was like, you know, you do change really well. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean? I do change really well. And
I hear you.
she was like, no, you really do. She's like, it's gonna serve you very well in the long run. And I just like, that was umpteen years ago, but I think about her saying that to me all those years ago and be like, I don't even know what that means. Like, and what is it that she saw right in me in this like work environment that was like, you know what, like there's something about you that is very dynamic. And even in that, like, she's like, I can tell, but also like, I can tell that you don't even know like the power that's going to come from that. I will say things though, in terms of knowing my confidence, I think my mother just like always instilled like confidence in myself and my older brother Keenan. But the environment in which I grew up in, I referenced like working one summer for one of my friends' families who, you know, both her parents were entrepreneurs, completely different businesses, but they were both entrepreneurs. Growing up to me around lots of successful entrepreneurs, doctors, obviously wealth advisors, attorneys. Even like another summer, I interned for another family friend who had her own fashion company. She actually won an episode of Shark Tank. Like,
Mm.
just those sort of things. I was like, I was always around lots of people who were successful entrepreneurs in different ways. And it just always from a very young age made me think, you know what? Like, there's probably a way that I can do this. From like my first time starting my first business, which was a car wash in my neighborhood that my best friend, my childhood best friend, and I started. And we would go door to door with that little bucket, being like, can we wash your dog? Can we wash your car for $5? I was probably like 7 or 8. This was like a real thing. And we did it in the summer, so we probably only did it for like really 2 or 3 weeks. But the neighbors were so nice to us and they would give us $5 and we would have our own water hose. We were like, can we plug our like, you know, tie our water hose up to the side of your house? And so they were super nice. And even in college, back, of course, before I got into this, I started a whole clothing line.
Wow.
And I used to just make clothes. Because part of the reason I took that internship in the summer is I thought I was super into fashion. I mean, I still technically am into fashion, but I thought I wanted to work in fashion and have my own clothing line. And I remember even that person who ran that company, she was like, Corey, like as someone who can't sew because she couldn't sew herself, she was like, you got to learn every part of the business. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, of course. She's like, no. She was like you need to know how to make patterns. Like you need to know how to sew. She's like, everything that you don't know how to do in your business means you have to rely on somebody else to tell you and
100%.
hope that they're
They're
telling you
telling
the
you the
truth.
truth.
And I remember my first little intern check I got from that job. I went to like, I think at the time it was like Hancock Fabrics or Joanne Fabrics, and they used to teach sewing classes. And I went and I signed up for sewing classes and I bought my own sewing machine. And yeah, and then when I went back to college that fall, I started this clothing line.
See,
Wow.
I can see you already had the hustle in you. You know, like they say that hustle was born in. You know, you
Yeah,
can't.
but the new generation doesn't have that. But
Yeah.
I don't know that they don't have it as much because I do think that they have it. I think they see, which is fair, they see the burn rate that comes with that type of lifestyle as well.
That's true. But you know, like I think that sometimes though, if you really love what you're doing, there's no real burn in it. You know, because I was thinking, what was it that motivated you when you were like 7 to do the car wash thing? What was the
Man, I'm tired
impetus
of asking
behind?
my mom for money.
Okay, so see,
I
right
mean,
then and
money to
there,
go to what, like the corner store and get, the Snicker, like, yourself. Like, what are you really buying?
so when you grew up, like what was the damic of it? Was your mother and your father together still? And you know,
No, they
yeah.
weren't. They weren't together. Thank God for the betterment of all of us. Um, I feel like it's okay to say that. Like,
I
Yes,
feel
especially
you.
when you
it
I
grow
is.
up.
laugh. I laugh because I feel the exact
We feel
same
the
way
same
about our
thing.
Oh, y'all understand?
situation.
Like, it's better. Like,
I so
it's
feel
better
you.
for everybody. It's better for the kids. It's better for the adults in that situation. Like,
That's why y'all in the Rose Garden right now, because Grandma Rose raised us.
Yeah, she's the one our grandmother raised us, so
yeah,
You
you
are
speak as part
hard.
of our tale. You know what I
okay,
mean?
like that's perfect. Like, I'm just like, yeah, for the betterment. Like, my dad was not super duper involved, and my mother was just her own dynamic powerhouse. She was literally one of the first regional managers at Microsoft. She knew Bill and Melinda before they
Wow.
even started
Mhm.
dating because Melinda's
Mhm.
actually from Dallas.
Wow.
And we were in Houston. So yeah, Steve Ballmer, like they used to be all in meetings together trying to pitch like the first Microsoft Office. Like we were like
Mhm.
kids of like that tech generation. You know the way people used to line up when Apple dropped a new iPhone. People
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
line up when software would
Yeah.
drop at different
You ain't
stores.
lying.
And because my mother had this whole territory and she was a single mother, my brother and I, we would have to go with her to a lot of these stores where she would make sure they had all the Microsoft displays correct. Like it was crazy. Like looking back on that, I'm like, wow, of course in elementary school, like all of the teachers, especially the computer teachers, loved her because she would get free software from Microsoft for the entire school.
Right.
Oh wow, that's amazing. But see, you already had that. The universe was wrapping you up in some lofty energy because it had a lot of these spirits that are trailblazing, you know,
Yeah.
disruptors that were all around you. And I think, you know, having some of that exposure plus, you know, some adversity probably was pushing you in a certain kind of direction because at 7 you already knew the value of money.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
I
like,
think I don't know if I knew it that well at 7.
but you knew that you didn't want to go ask nobody, you know,
Yes.
because certain little indicators show that you know something about the value of money, right? Because like one of those things is, well, I'm not going to ask nobody else for it no more, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. But I'm with you, like knowing the real, you know, actual value. You know, that takes time to do, but the fact that that was there, that's impressive. You
Well, you
know.
I
know
was
what,
gonna say if I
though?
compare it to my 6-year-old niece, I definitely had a much better grasp on it because, but I don't think I help her because I'm always like, look, let's go ask your daddy for some money. Let's go get his card.
But you know what?
Let's see how far it can take us today.
From a psychological perspective, that's that nature and nurture. She had it already in her. It's in her DNA.
Yeah.
Listen to how she described this mother. This mother was, you know, single mom doing it, making things happen, and then
Right.
the environment stimulated that. And I think that one of the things that may be missing now from the new generation to support their, you know, the difference is that their environment isn't stimulating that growth anymore. So
Well,
that
I also got to give credit to the individual, you know, because
yeah, yeah,
sometimes you could be in a great environment, you still
you're
don't
right.
have it, you know. So it really is the person that's listening to
Yeah,
these
that's what
things.
I
Like
said,
listen
that
to
nature part, that nature
yeah,
part. That was who she was, that dynamic
that's who
nature.
she
That's what I
was.
wanted her
Yeah.
to call to it. And she says she's struggling a little bit to call to it because she don't see herself like that. You know why she's struggling? Because she always been that way. You know
Yeah,
what I
so
mean?
you know it's funny
She's always
because
been that way.
it's like that. It's like what what's his name? Kanye West's mom was saying to him all the time when she was like, you know, a
Eugene.
giant look. Yeah, she's like you looking at a giant looks in the mirror and don't see a giant. You know.
Right, right. So
Yeah, it's like you don't
that's
see
what
yourself.
she
But
was
I love
doing.
that about Corey because Corey is really humble, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
where she's speaking this part, this aspect of herself where she's like, I don't really see it, but because
So,
this is me, it's just
so
who I
Corey,
am. So I love that part.
So, Corey, what were some, you know, again, I'm thinking about this new generation who needs that push. What were some challenges you had to overcome? And I just want to put a little shameless plug. I went to Howard, so it's the other HU.
Oh, okay. Look, see, I'm glad we didn't get into all that off the top. I don't know if I'd have said yes to this. I didn't know that was what was happening around here. See, Xavier didn't mention all that. He was like, "Oh, just my cool sister. Like we had this." It's like he didn't go into detail.
He didn't go. It's all love. It's all love.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I did want to know how the HBCU affected both of you guys though, because I didn't go to HBCU, so I want to know like what was the impact on that on your life?
Okay. Well, I'll start with Sorata's questions about the challenges. First of all, I feel like there are always challenges when specifically being an entrepreneur, right? You're just always trying to find a new way to do things more efficiently, better, that sort of stuff. But being being a woman and coming up in finance at the best firm on the street, as we like to say, as it relates to Goldman Sachs, like it's tough. It's tough for anybody. I mean, it's
No
tough for the
doubt.
men too, but
Hmm.
it's really tough for women, and it is especially tough for women of color.
No
Like
doubt.
that is a difficult environment, and to like kind of really make your mark. I mean, you're fighting against so many different things day in and day out. So I think the perseverance to overcome any of the challenges that have come before me has always been, I've survived every one of my worst days and I'm
Mm,
still here.
mm.
So like every time something's happening, I'm like, whew. I mean, not immediately, but like I get to the point where I'm like, okay, like this is not going the way I'd like it to. How do I maneuver? How do I pivot? How do I figure this out? And no matter how stressed I am, I'm like, all right, you know what? Remember when that thing happened and you didn't know where you were going and like what was going to happen? And like somehow God worked this out for you. Like that same God is still here. And there's no way
100%.
that he's brought you this far to leave you at this point. So like you got to stay in it. And that's how I kind of approach all the challenges. But there are things from not, fighting to get funding, fighting to do bigger deals and partnerships with bigger companies, which is how I met your brother through our current partnership with Microsoft. I've been working on that deal for a year and a half for me to be able to
Wow.
get deals with some of the biggest companies in the world, like a Microsoft, like Facebook, or like Meta. They were still Facebook at the time. But like Facebook, General Motors, all of these huge organizations, it's like I started this company literally in the living room of my Brooklyn condo. Like this little company has been able to do all of these things. So that's why I'm just like, there's got to be a reason. And every time I feel like I'm at the end of my rope and there's nowhere else for me to be able to climb up, like something else happened, like another door, another opportunity comes about. Now to the HBCU thing, let me just tell you, I grew up, as I referenced, in Houston, Texas. We have a very decent and diverse Black population. I referenced lots of entrepreneurs like who did everything, and all of these people were fantastic growing up. Even so much so, one of my childhood super close friends was Solange Knowles. We went to middle school together.
Mm.
We were in dance class, and our neighborhoods were right across the street from each other. So at 10 years old, this is before Destiny's Child was famous or a thing. Just her mother owned a hair salon that a lot of us went to. Her dad was like in leadership at this company, and I don't remember that. Maybe it was Xerox. I can't remember the name of it at the time. But like even them, like trying to figure out, how to make it in this industry. I know it's easy now. People look at the success of certain people, especially if they become, very famous or whatever. Like that success is not built overnight. So that's what I mean.
Nope.
Like it was all around me all the time. So there was never like a weird kind of thing when it came to like going to a Black university. What I will say is I don't think I knew just how diverse the diaspora was until I got to an HBCU. And
Tell the truth, sister. Tell the
I'm
truth.
just, like, there's a lot of like when people say Black is not a monolith, like anyone who went to a HBCU knows that like intensely. Like it is far from monolithic. Like when you talk about Black people and the Black diaspora, like it's a lot going on there. So I will say that was like very interesting. I'm like, oh, we're Black, but we are very different. Like,
You ain't lying.
we're not the same type of Black over here. Okay. So there's that part, but some of my best friends to this day are from Hampton University. My boyfriend, we met at Hampton. Like it's a place where I feel like I would have never created the bonds and the relationships that I have if I'd have gone to a PWI. I mean, granted, I did go to a PWI for grad school, but that's if you're not there that long. So that's okay. But to me, it was so empowering because my brother also went to an HBCU. He went to Florida A&M though.
Okay, cool.
But my mom, she is from Buffalo, New York, and she actually went to Syracuse for undergrad. And she would always tell my brother and I, like, you can go wherever you want to go to school. That's not in the state of Texas. She was very much a big proponent of you need to experience life outside of the state. And also she really highly encouraged us to go to HBCU because she didn't go to one, but she feels like the people that she knew who had gone to HBCUs had much stronger relationships with other Black people across the country and that they looked out for each other in ways that the handful, and I do mean handful of Black people that she knew from Syracuse, or they were cool. Like they weren't really going to look out for one another the way that these people who knew each other from an HBCU did.
I appreciate that description. I always tell people, and I share those sentiments. I always tell people I went to PWI first, and then I got my master's and my doctorate from Howard. I always tell people I was schooled, in my PWI. I got information, but I was educated at Howard. And the difference for me really was the foundations and the traditions for learning were integrated in Black culture and diasporic discussions, right? I remember crying in the history of Black education because I just simply did not know that Black people had that kind of experience just to learn in this country. And everything was our kind of mantra was like, we're going to go be change agents. So this is
Right.
what it is, but what can you change? And so I attribute all of at least my professional boldness to my HBCU experience, because it was almost encouraged to be great and to think outside the box and do things differently. And when there's no way, you find a way, you bust that hole through the wall. You need to. I think I've been naturally a bold person too, and I am not afraid to talk to people. So I'm gonna go ask you for what I need and what I want. And so Howard supported that. They supported the ask and they welcomed the ask. Although, like you said, Black people are different. So it's a I always
Oh,
call
yeah.
you better bake your muffins when you ask.
Right.
I
Hey,
wasn't
look.
going saying you better give me this. I was like, how are you doing? And oh, let's talk about your scholarship. Blah 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 blah. So I am so appreciative of that. And I can honestly say that the people who have had the most influential impact on my life all came from that environment. I can't even truly remember the names of my faculty in my undergraduate program, and nor do I remember anything that was impactful. But I can tell you from each one of
But
the
your relationship
wait,
with your
wait.
husband,
I said
don't forget that.
Wait, now we forgot the whole husband.
Yeah, I know. I
No.
said, damn, man. Hey, and he watching too, so you know you gotta
Wait a
Now,
minute.
was
cut that.
you met him at Howard or at the PW?
at the-
No, I met him in undergrad. He was
Okay. Oh, well, so you did meet somebody.
Yeah, that's a long lasting lifetime relationship now. Let's not forget that part, you
I
know.
said my faculty. I didn't say my friendship. Okay, I said my faculty. That I took some parts of my experience with me.
Hey, well, I'm over here beaming with pride to be in the presence of such great women, you know, let
I
alone
think just
women
because
of
it's the first
color.
time y'all had a woman on the show.
You don't know. Hey, but you know what? We like to play these little games, you know, to get to know people better, which my
Okay.
sister ducked on last time. It was a game I never played before. It was called Would You Rather? Would you rather? I
Okay.
think it's called Would You
Well,
Rather.
you never played that? Not even
I
in
never
college.
played that
College,
game
it
before.
goes left.
Well,
It's not
she had
let's not
asked
play
a,
that version because it gets inappropriate quick.
well, she had asked some questions last time, and my brother was left on the hook on wondering what her answers would be for us. So I'm gonna ask it to
Wow.
both of y'all this time, right?
Oh
So,
no! Did you write them down, brother?
I got a vivid memory, so I'm
Oh.
bringing this off the top, just like I'm rapping it like a lyric, like a lyricist.
I'm gonna let Corey go first. Is that okay?
Okay,
You put me on the spot. You're already familiar with the game. I need to warm up. I gotta ease into the situation.
And she probably had some time to really think about them questions
Right.
too and all that stuff. So the first question is, would you rather have a dude? Was it a dude or a girl? You asked me and my brother in the sense of a female. So I'm gonna ask you guys this in the sense of a guy. Would you
Okay.
rather have a guy to lie to you for your benefit or be completely honest?
Okay, there is no such thing as lying to your woman for her benefit. You are lying to her for your benefit so that you don't catch the smoke from whatever the truth is. So no, I actually not these people are not my favorite family, but I do think, to quote Khloe Kardashian, like a lie hurts one time and you can work through it and move past it. I mean, not a lie, the truth hurts one time. Excuse me.
100%.
Right.
I
A
was
lie
gonna say,
hurts
rock her one time.
No, the truth hurts one time, and you can figure out, if you want to work
Totally
through it,
agree.
work past it. Like when you're lying to someone, the fact is that you have to continue on with that, which means that you are comfortable every day waking up or whatever your cadence is with this partner, this individual, constantly lying to them day in and day out. And to me, this is my take. Once the trust is broken, it's super hard. I'm not going to say impossible. Nothing is impossible, but it is very hard to come back from that. As opposed to being like, yeah, I know that she's going to be mad. Like, let me be mad. I've been mad before. You probably know I've been mad before. Like, but then you know that I'll pick up my feelings, Jasmine Sullivan style, and like move on.
I love that. I love that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you want my
What about
response?
you? Yes, yes.
So I'm also going to defer to the truth, but for different reasons, because I think that people choice is so important. And when you're telling the truth, then you don't take away my autonomy. You give me permission to make my own decisions. And when you've lied to me, you've decided for me. I don't like people taking my choice out of it. Now, should I decide from whatever your bad, decision is to continue in relationship with you, then that is a decision that I can stand on and justify. But when you lie to me, I feel like my choice has been removed.
So we all aligned then. The truth
all
it is.
aligned.
But I feel like your answer was very eloquent. Like, and I was like, nah,
All right.
to be
So help me
honest,
out.
you're gonna catch the smoke either way.
100. I mean,
No,
you
true
can't.
statement, like, you're gonna catch it either way.
You can't hide from the
What really
smoke.
do you want?
You can't hide from the smoke. You can't. And it's going to come. And the other thing is Grandma Rose said, because we got to give her this ode because this is her time, is all lie. Everything that happens in the dark comes to light. My grandmother, when we were young, now I don't know if this
She
was
used to
true.
light a candle.
She used to light a candle.
She was making sure y'all understood.
Yeah, she would say, hey, if we did something and we weren't gonna tell, we ain't want to tell who did it, right? She said, I'm gonna light a candle. I'm about to go in here and light a candle and it's gonna tell me who did it. So for the longest time, she would come out and be right about who did it. She would come out and be right. So for the longest time, we thought that this candle was real. And I was looking for this candle, like we need to get rid of that candle.
Now we gotta
that little snitch candle. But I don't know what she did to figure this stuff out, but she did. She would figure it out every time.
And she would say the lie will come to light. And she light that candle, and then we would all be in there praying, God,
don't let her figure out this was me.
But then she would figure it out because she knew exactly what it was. And clearly your grandmother had lots and lots of wisdom. I could not agree with that more.
Yes. All right. You guys.
So you got to help me out with the other questions. I forgot them now because you guys brought me down that path of the where you broke me down on the truth. Y'all was so passionate on that.
The second question was would you rather spend eternity with someone you just liked a little bit, or have one day with your purest, truest love?
Oh.
Come on, Corey. This got to be an easy one.
So I like to throw a disclaimer. First of all, I'm a Scorpio. We are rulers of the Holy Trinity, love, sex, and money.
I feel that.
We're super passionate people. Just our sign. I would take the one day of passion.
100.
Like, true love. I would take the one day.
One day. That's
day would be
24 hours.
That's 24 hours to feel something that you would never feel in an entire lifetime. I'd rather hold on to that, especially because I know that it exists in the world.
100%.
That it is possible to achieve that level of connection with another spirit. For me, that's what I was like clamoring for. Like, let me get there.
The meaning and purpose, yo. Like, it's funny because we actually, but before I go on it, I need to know your response to it too, Sarita. What's yours?
So, Corey has inspired me a little bit through her answer, I have to say.
Remember, the husband is watching. We got to make the right decision for the family.
So I would say true love is phenomenal. So I was looking at it if I looked at it from the perspective of that it was, the most enriching, personal, meaningful experience, I would go with true love. But the word that stuck out in my mind when I was reading you that question was eternity, which meant that I would live on for a long time. Okay. And so that meant my impact would be
Mhm.
felt for a very long time. Not necessarily the impact of love, but
Mhm.
I could beam love and give love to other people. So when I read it to you last week, my original choice was I could be a center of love for other people for an eternity. Like I'm not dying, I get to live forever. But if I position it in, I can tell you this, I've been in relationships that were lukewarm, and this relationship that I'm in now hits so totally different that it like, and I didn't know it like could hit that different until I knew what it was like. That having that experience is absolutely magical. But and so I would never, there's no but, like I'm so happy I had that experience. But I will say I've had other relationships before that I didn't even know that you could feel this kind of magical
But
connection.
well, you had those other relationships while you were a kid, but I have no comment on it because you eloquently explained that. So the only thing I would say is maybe you should have seen the Sinners movie before you
I know.
listen to that question.
No, and you're right. I was influenced by Sinners a little bit in my thinking.
So what was the third? What was the third question?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the third. Let me. So the third question had to do with what you brought to the relationship. So
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
So this
Y'all
was
get
when
into
you.
everything over here on this
But
siblings
you
podcast.
Corey, what you got in common with my sister though is you guys have maintained a long-term relationship because you said you had met your dude also in college,
Well,
right?
no, your sister probably much better. No, well, we just got back together, like not even that long ago. We broke up for 3 years. No.
Well, that's you still got the continuity though.
Look, life is hard. We're all trying to do the best we can.
Listen, nobody. You know what I've learned, because I have been married in an imperfect marriage for 25-ish. I can't remember the years. I will say we've been married for 22 years, but we've been together for like 25 or 26. I can't remember the exact number. I'm bad at math. But what I will say is that what I love about me and my husband's commitment to each other is that we are really, really good friends, and we're really, really accepting of the fact that we're both imperfect people.
Mm.
And what I hear now in all of like, my discussions clinically and with my friends is that everybody's looking for like this perfect person. And the reality is we're not even perfect.
Mhm.
Right, like, but we see ourselves through this like very perfect colorful lens because we position everything through our own experience. What I've learned by being a partner is you have to be empathetic and sympathetic to what other people bring to the table, and that's work. And like if you're going to be in a relationship with someone that's committed and long term, it's not easy. Like every single day that I wake up, I choose my husband. I hope he chooses me. And one day when that changes, right? Like he could change, he could wake up one day and say, I don't choose you no more. And I could do the same. Then that's also his choice. And I'm fine with it because we're complex. We've changed. Like I'm not even the same person when I met my husband when I was 18.
No
Like I
doubt.
don't,
No doubt. But there's
not
some indicators though in the relationship thing though that you can see stuff on. So like say when Corey came on and she said something about she caught the flat tire, right?
yeah.
And then what stood out to me is that she said, I called my brother, you know?
I ain't
So in my mind, I'm like, you know, speaking from the X what you call what the Y chromosome around, speaking from the Y chromosome side,
Yes.
I would say the man need to be the first one you call. Like, your man
In
need to be the first
in his
dude you call.
defense, my boyfriend's defense, he actually lives in New York, so he would have been useless.
He'll help her. He can't help her out.
I hear you on that. You supposed to, but hey, wherever he at in the world, whether he in New York or Japan, wherever, he's supposed to be the first call. And you know
He's
what?
really
Sometimes women have this way to wield their femininity, right? Where you can't, you useless in the situation, but she call you to say, babe, I got a flat tire. What should I do? Oh, you know what? You should call your brother. And then he feel like he called that
That's
shot.
what I'm saying. That's why relationships so much work. You see the games, you see the Fortnite or like all the games that one has to play to get a simple tire change and empower the person who don't even have the answer. Like,
Well, Corey,
my brother's right here in Houston, and he was like, "Go to this tire shop, buy this grocery store. They'll get you in." Like, what
My
up?
brother-
Like, my
my brother
boyfriend at
saving
work
your
right now. He's a
relationship.
sergeant in the NYPD. He's not going to be of any help. No need to waste my time calling him.
my brother saving your relationship. He told
I
you.
know. I'm trying to tell
No,
you
you
something.
probably are right. And see,
I'm trying
because
to tell you something.
I did that and got on with y'all. Like, most people don't even know this happened yet, so we just probably won't even tell him. So his spirit's not even going to be broken in any way, shape, or form. Because he'll never even know this happened. Because sometimes you just don't have to share everything.
Well, y'all just was saying y'all were big fans of the truth.
Yes,
Sometimes
true, but you don't have
omission
to
can be looked at
everything.
as hiding information or something. I know sometimes people don't
It
like
is
being
something called as lying by omission, but I'm not lying. I'm never even bringing it up.
Okay, we got our time is coming and close, but and my brother wants this. I didn't ask this very one because I had a list of questions, so I can't remember which one. But this one I like, and I'm since I'm answering it, I'm gonna give it to you. So, would you rather be considered more attractive or more intelligent?
Yeah, this is. Let me tell you why this is actually like very, very personal to me, because I have actually struggled with this, and I still struggle with this to some extent. Specifically not so much when I was in investment banking, but when I moved into media, specifically because I wanted to have like an on-camera job, or at least that's where I wanted to start, right? That's why I thought I wanted to just be a news anchor. And then when I moved into, which a lot of that, I mean, to be covering the stock market, right? You can't just be cute. Like you have to, it's not entertainment news, right? You have to actually be smart as well. So I thought, okay, like we're getting like a little bit of a balance. But when I moved into running my own company, I remember going out, meeting with lots of different venture capitalists, fund managers that you guys can imagine. The majority of them are men. The majority of them are white men. And even saying to my co-founder, like, I feel like this guy's hitting on me. Like, I feel like the only reason he's entertaining a conversation about possibly funding the business is like, so that they have another reason to like meet up. And I mean, that went on for years. And I remember the guy at the time that I was seeing in New York, he was like, I feel like you're thinking about this all wrong, Corey. He's like, if that's what's going to get you in the door and give you an opportunity, one more chance, right, to be able to tell somebody else about your company. He was like, I think you need to change your thinking around it and use it to your advantage. He was like, yeah, of course. He was like, men are going to be men. He's like, it just doesn't matter. He was like, you're a good looking woman. He's like, use that. He was like, men are who they are. He was like, and they can get easily defocused if somebody attractive comes around. He was like, but you gotta not be so focused on what it is they want and stay focused is on what you want. So
that part.
My heart of hearts, I would way rather be known as like intelligent for the rest of my life. Like when people describe me, the first thing I want them to say is like, oh, she's smart.
Capabilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I think that's what people say? Yes.
Well, they can't take away your brilliance, yo. Like I think honestly, your intelligence is all over you too, just like your beauty is.
But
so
you
I don't
don't
think
know,
like
but you don't know that by just looking at me, right? And that's I think where like that X was trying to say. It's like on first approach, it's like all you do is see this other person. And people, we all do that. You're kind of making split decisions. You're trying to put people in boxes and categories. Like, oh, we can put her in like the cute chick category. Okay,
well,
she's cute enough that I can tell my assistant, yeah, when she emails, make sure you find time on the calendar.
Now that's real because I think like that's one that's a unique experience that only women could feel. Because anytime I deal with men, they ain't reaching out to me because they trying to have that other conversation for something else. It's actually something.
You don't necessarily know there's a lot of fluidity out here in the world.
That's true, but I think that it's taking that part off the table, the fluidity part off the table. that usually like two men getting together because there is actually an exchange that can happen, you know. So like it's really no games with it. Whereas you guys, y'all definitely have a disadvantage because you gotta get past that wall first, you know.
Mhm.
So
And it's
I
actually
respect that.
very frustrating. Maybe it's not frustrating for women who perhaps aren't necessarily trying to lean on their intelligence, that aren't trying to
Mhm.
be like taken seriously. It's really difficult. Though I will say, most of my help in my like past 7.5 like entrepreneurial years has actually come from men. And it's been the
Mm,
men, let me tell you this because I find this fascinating. It's been men that only have daughters, like they'll have one or two
interesting.
daughters. And it
Mhm.
has been those men that have been like, I want you to meet my daughter. Like, I think like you're somebody that she would like. Even I don't know if you probably don't know this guy by name, but his name is Mark Lohr, Marc. And
Mm,
Mark Lohr and Alex Rodriguez, they just bought the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Mhm.
mm,
So I met
mhm.
Mark a few years ago. We're all in New York, and Mark has two daughters. And this is like I'm still like very early on in Culture Banks, and we met up. I can't even remember how we got connected, but I go to his office. We actually filmed this whole thing together, and he was just like, "You know what, Corey?" He was like, my daughters, they need people like you." He was like, "I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna make introductions to people in my network for you." But just throwing that out there as an example of like the men, and this is not a man who was trying to hit on me.
Mhm.
He had already sold two companies to like Amazon and like Walmart for like 300, two separate companies for like $300 million.
Wow.
To which I'm like, how do you even like, I mean, to sell one is like unheard of in a lifetime, but to sell
Mhm.
two different
Mhm.
companies is insane. Oh, actually, I think I do know how we got connected. Maybe that was through Jenny Fleiss, the Jennies. I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys heard of this company called Rent the Runway.
Mhm.
Um, but it's I think they do men's clothes now, but basically you can go online and like rent clothes and then you return them.
Mhm.
But one of the Jennies like knew him, and I knew one of the Jens, and she was like, "I'm gonna introduce you to
Oh,
Mark Lohr. Like he's one of my mentors. I think he'll help you." And he was like super helpful and instrumental. So I will say, like the men who aren't trying to hit on you to some extent, they've actually been very, very helpful, even more so sometimes than women, because that's a
Mhm.
whole other dynamic too that we didn't even. I know we just went straight to like, oh, that like male side, but there's a whole other dynamic to being a beautiful and smart woman and meeting with other women who
Right.
might not be as secure within who they are.
Right.
I
Right.
see that.
You
So I
probably
take
don't.
it.
Yo, see, exciting. You probably don't experience that part
No,
either. You
I
don't know
don't.
that side. You don't know that side of it.
Nah, I don't. I
Mhm.
don't. So
Let me
I
give you
take it,
this.
Sarita, your answer is the same.
My
I would
answer
venture to
is,
say.
because I love how dynamic, and I can't do it like her. She does it because she's that storyteller journalist. But I'm gonna say
Mhm.
this: I want to be both
You want to be both,
because
but you
I
got to
want.
choose one. You told me
Yeah,
last
we're
time that
choosing
Listen,
one. I
you got
thought we
to
were
choose
choosing
one.
one.
You can't do both. You have to
listen.
choose one.
It's my podcast. I can't have my own rules.
Nah, nah, no. You have to choose one. You cannot. The rule is to
Okay.
choose one.
Okay. My heart, like, I liked how she had put her hand on her heart. My heart is intelligence too, just because I've worked so hard to um, be taken seriously. Because I think when people do look at me initially, they don't think of me as smart normally. And so,
That's because you're so fine.
girl, thank you. So are you.
They got to get there. They got to get there. They're trying to
So
get
that's
past the beauty first. They're like, okay, hold on. She can speak. She can probably read too. They probably let her drive.
so it's
Well,
been great.
can I make a confession that you guys have inspired me today on something, which is I do think this, right? Honestly speaking, I like to have beautiful people around me because that motivates me. You know, I feel like sometimes have you ever went to a place, and I hate to put it like this. I hate being like good and evil, ugly, beautiful, but we all have eyes, like my little sister says all the time, right? So there's some times that I went to like a government place and I'm looking at, I'll go in there and I'm like, the people are ugly, outside and inside,
Right.
And as soon as I walk into that place, I just feel low vibrations. I feel like I need to get the hell out of here as soon as possible. You know what I mean?
The
But
ugly
when I walk
doesn't
into
take
a
off
place,
people onto others.
but when I go to a place where it's beautiful people, I feel warm, I feel energetic, I feel enthusiastic, right? But I do feel like, the disadvantage for women in any industry that really do have capabilities is, especially when they're beautiful, is you got to get beyond that first,
There
you
you
know?
go.
So I do see how men can do better in that area, and I
Thank
admit
you.
myself that's something that we got
You're
to improve.
growing. Thank you,
Yeah,
brother. Thank you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I hope all your friends out there listening gonna be just like you. Because let me tell you, here's an adaptation I've had to create. So I purposely, when I am meeting someone for the very first time, I don't wear makeup because
mm,
I want them to meet Sarita. I
hmm
don't want them to meet or Dr. James. I want them to meet me because when I get made up, makeup definitely, like, I don't even look. Sometimes I'm like, damn, girl, you look real good. Like when I have that full war paint on, I don't even recognize myself sometimes. I'm like,
Well,
God,
that's another thing a man can't relate to,
you got men out here with war paint on and trying to hair extensions.
That's
I just
true.
sent you that video, brother. They giving hair extensions, so don't
Oh,
play.
that's true. That's a good point.
So
But
what?
I ain't doing that. I rock it in Super Bowl, so I don't embrace that the hair extensions.
I feel like you did a reveal, like how women sometimes will snatch off their wig, like, this is how it's cornrowed under here.
You ain't lying, and their eyes get off the man's eyes secretly. You trying to not to make no reaction. You like, damn,
Like,
that came off.
oh,
What else comes off over here?
yeah, when they do that full expose, like, this is what it really is under here. You're like, oh,
Put that
don't
back
do
on.
that. We aren't at that stage in the relationship. Yeah.
You know what? This time in the Rose Garden has been so entertaining, and that 1 hour goes extremely
It
fast.
does.
Corey, I thank you so much for your candor. But before you go, because we brought you here to give lessons, and my little girl is still listening. I made her listen to the show because I said, I'm bringing somebody on the show that you can
Powerhouse.
learn from, a powerhouse.
What's her name?
Sanai. Her name is Sanai.
Nice.
So, and she goes to Delaware State University. So she also
right.
went to a HBCU. And I said, you're going to learn so many good things. She's going to inspire you. And guess what, sis? When I break up with you financially, you're going to have the tools. Because I want that sis out my pockets. I just want her out. I want her out.
Stay in your mom's pockets as long as possible. Take
There
it
you
from me,
go.
I'm an adult. You're not trying to get cut off.
Big up to Sanai.
So give her some parting words, and then before you leave, we have some things to celebrate, some words to celebrate for you.
Okay, parting words besides like don't get cut off before you have to, i.e. don't act up. My brother was one of those people. He got cut off before he actually needed to because he was acting up.
Right.
But don't act up. Also, do the things in life that you're passionate about. I know you hear people say that all the time, and they tell you that the money will come. Because when you decide to give your mental space, and we all have a limited amount of that, right? It's not endless. There's only so much that we can think about, focus on, all of that. When you decide what it is that you're passionate about, and that's what you want to put your mental energy towards, I can guarantee you things will start to fall in place in ways that you could never imagine. And I know you're thinking, well, I'm just starting out and I'm going to get a job. Get a job with something that you actually like. If you take a job where you just want money, I know I mentioned at the beginning, I did want to be in banking and I got a job in an investment bank, but I was actually more passionate about seeing the rest of the world. And that was what drove me to London. It wasn't because I got the job at the investment bank. It was because I always wanted to do a study abroad when I was in school. And at the time, Hampton just wasn't doing study abroad at any cool places I was interested in. And so my mom said to me, once you graduate, like, I'm not going to keep taking care of you. So if you want to go travel the world, like, you need to figure out a way to pay for that, which, by the way, if that's something that you're interested in doing, I have a program for you. It's called Mountbatten that I went through as soon as I graduated from Hampton. Sponsors a year long. They'll hook you up with a job. You live internationally. Let your mom or like your uncle know. I can put you in contact with the people directly over there. I help students all the time get into this program. But that is also another option. And stay positive. Like, you don't have to have it all figured out. I'm 39. I don't have it figured out. I don't have life figured out.
She's going to appreciate those words of wisdom, and she's going to listen to them. So, brother, we always do this at the end of the show, but we got a powerhouse. So, at end of our show, we always elevate a Black business, and part of that is because we started the Rose Garden because my brother and I talk every day. We both are entrepreneurs. Well, we do talk almost every day now, but our Thursdays was our time to connect and download. I learned a lot from him. He's been in business a lot longer than I have. And we use that time to support each other and create community. And so the Rose Garden is that community for us now. And it's a national community. So we brought you on not just to talk about your story, but to elevate your job. And so nobody does it better than the person who owns it. So we're going to give you your time to elevate Culture Bank and anything else that you do, because my brother and I both have a for-profit businesses and nonprofit arm. So we want to give you devote the last seconds to you sharing about what you do and how people can find you.
Yes. Well, really quickly. So Culture Banks, that is my company. I've been running it for 7.5 years. And what we do is we create stock market driven business news for hip hop culture. And for those who are thinking, Corey, exactly what does that mean? I want you guys to just imagine if CNBC or the Financial Times had a baby with Spotify's Rap Caviar playlist. That is Culture Banks in a nutshell. We use music with all of our articles that spin out to curate a Spotify playlist to make sure that you all out there, our audience, has a true, authentic connection with high-level business, finance, tech, economic, and innovation news, all told through a culturally attuned lens. Put out a newsletter every day. You can catch our content on social. We're at Culture Banks, that's with an X, on all social platforms. And yeah, people do say, oh, you spell it with an X because you're trying to be cool, like partially, but like I'm not that cool of a person. The X is actually an homage to my favorite female founder, which is none other than Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, the only female founded company in the world to be valued at $1 billion with no outside investors.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Corey, you live up to the radiant brilliance that I see in you. I really appreciate that you came and spent this time with us in this Rose Garden. And like I said, I want to be contributing also to your community and to your growth. But you asked me a question when we last spoke. You said, "What was the song that's in repeat on the playlist?" So I need to know, what's yours? What's the
Right now, it's probably Doechie's Anxiety. Like, I think Doechii has her foot on the music industry's
I
neck
love
right
her,
now.
yo.
Like, what
I love
she's
her.
putting out, like, I mean, it's pure artistry. That song, Anxiety, like bringing me back to like the original version of that song from years ago. Somebody that by Gautier, like, I'm just like, chick is killing it.
I love her. She's one of my favorite.
So yes,
I
that's what
love
I'm
it.
listening to. I wish it was something more prophetic than like.
No, I love.
I don't have anxiety issues right now, but just like this song is like so catchy.
Okay, be who you are. All right, folks, it's our time. We are going to see you next Thursday in the Rose Garden at 2. You can see us again at Rose's Breadcrumbs on YouTube. Thank y'all for joining.
Till next time.